I'm Glenn McGinnis, and this is Outburst. On the program, how engaged have you been during this federal election?
Not so much.
I'm very engaged in politics in general.
I follow the debates, I read a lot, I listen.
My time and attention still focusing on the pandemic.
But first, before this election was called, the Prime Minister stated his party would make vaccinations mandatory for all public servants and for Canadians traveling by air, rail, or marine vessel. People opposed to these public health measures have been dogging Trudeau this election campaign. But there are also others who feel these measures are exactly what's needed. So we took our cameras out across the country with this question.
Are vaccine mandates an election issue for you?
No, that's not an issue because, for what I understand, all parties agree that it is a requirement. At least all the significant parties agree that it's a requirement, and I'm fully in agreement with them.
You can't mandate anything on the way of vaccines. Individuals don't work that way. Medicine doesn't work that way. We can do it individually or corporately or through employment, but I wouldn't say that vaccines are number one at all. I would say economy is, and I would say that inflation is.
I actually would say yes. That would be an election issue for me because I feel like it's coming against my freedoms. So I think that would have a big impact on who I vote for.
Not a major one. I think it should just be something that local officials decide, not really a federal mandate or something the federal government shouldn't really be that concerned with.
Yes, there are, in the way that I don't think that vaccination should be mandatory. So absolutely, it's a point that's important for me.
I'm not anti-vax, but I still think that people have choice over what they put in their body.
If I don't believe in vaccinations, that's my right as a citizen of Canada, and it shouldn't be imposed on me. And I'm much more likely to vote for a candidate that is against it and that understands that it's our rights as individuals to decide.
We've seen, as soon as the mandates are issued, there's suddenly an uptick in first doses, second doses that people might have been reluctant or on the fence to get in the first place. So I think there's really a good opportunity to move people who might be on the fence using something like a vaccine mandate. And it's more effective than some other sort of incentive like what they're trying to do in Alberta. So,
absolutely. It affects everybody. We've seen the impact it's had on the hospitals. What we're seeing now, I am a nurse, what I'm seeing now is unvaccinated people being hospitalized when they had an option, right? Mandated will bring us back to what life was before the pandemic, and our kids will be able to enjoy life again. Our kids are being affected because they're the ones who can't get vaccinated. But at the same time, we're seeing it's an age thing. A lot of people in the 30s and 40s are not getting vaccinated. It's the most important thing it is, because that's what we're seeing. It should be mandated, absolutely.
Yeah, I think they are. Yeah, I would say. I think getting vaccinated is really important, and it'll just get us out of this continuous cycle that we're in of like the masks and the vaccine debates. So I would like it to be a main factor of the election.
This has become a pandemic of the unvaccinated. People over time, once they have gotten the vaccine, once I have gotten the vaccine, have become more and more immunized. And I think it's important that whether you think it infringes on your freedom or not, that you should get the vaccine for the benefit of others. And, politics is everything. Everything is politics. People are going to die if you don't get the vaccine. That is not up for debate. And if we have to step on if the government has to step on a few people's toes to save lives, then I'm behind it.
No, I don't think it's really that political. I think it's just a health concern. It shouldn't have nothing to do with politics. It's just, that's the solution, so it shouldn't be political.
It seems to me that all the candidates are pretty much on the same page, that we do need a vaccine passport, or that people should be mandated to get vaccinated. So it really isn't an issue, because I have complete confidence, one would hope, what they say right now, God only knows what's going to happen when they get elected, that they would continue with that promise or that, that issue. So It is with me. I think it's important that people get vaccinated, and if they don't, I mean, that is their choice, but there are people being put at risk with people who are not vaccinated, right? And we want to try to get rid of the masks as soon as possible, as much as possible.
No. I do realize that people see it as a issue regarding freedoms and of rights, of course. But as a nurse who has worked with positive COVID patients, as well as many other patients, I feel that the tendency to what some people may politicize it. I do realize that freedoms are important, but it's so complicated that during this pandemic, I believe that we should consider it a public health issue as opposed to one that could be politicized further.
I believe they're an election issue because I think it really applies to what I'm doing in my life. Like at school here, it's like you never really know who's vaccinated or not. And the way that we're doing vaccine mandates here, it seems like people could easily lie about it. And so it just kind of makes me feel a little bit unsafe because I don't really know what my peers are doing with their lives.
I'm very pro vaccines, and I don't see the huge issue with vaccine passports. I just think it's something that's, if you follow the science, it's something that's for our public health and for everybody's safety. So I just don't like seeing it turning into a political issue when it's not. It's a health issue more than anything. So yes, I think it's an important thing because of how much it's a political issue. So I want a candidate that recognizes the science behind it and recognizes the importance of it for health.
I rely on the experts to tell me what I need to do in terms of that field. So I think the vaccine mandate is a really big issue in terms of who needs to be a political leader or not.
I mean, I see their use in some things, and I also think they shouldn't be used for some things. Not really, I'm pretty neutral about it too, but I could see how it's an issue for some people. I think it will be an issue for people in the election, but personally, it's not a huge issue.
The economic outlook for this country compared to the last election roughly 2 years ago is vastly different. COVID-19 has had a profound effect on the Canadian economy from the local/small business level to the oil and gas industry. But with more and more people getting vaccinated, we could possibly see things looking up financially for this country fairly soon. So, is this something on your radar? Our question.
How much will the economy impact your vote?
The economy will impact my vote quite a bit. Me as a bartender, actually, I'm looking for a more stimulated economy in the future here. Not only provincially, but federally would be something to look for as well. I can't say it would be my entire vote, but it is a large portion.
I think economy is a big issue in the sense where I want to see a balance between controlling inflation, but at the same time still providing some social assistance and social security.
Economy will impact my votes a lot. I'm gonna check how the different candidates are gonna deal with the next couple of months and years for sure. So it's going to impact my decision for sure.
Well, I really haven't looked at the platforms yet, so I'm not sure how the Prime Minister intends to address the deficit. But it'll be a major factor to see when I see what his long-term plan is.
So yeah, it's definitely a factor, but for me, it's not the only factor. Because you can't have totally one without the other things like social checks and balances and environmental considerations. So 33.333%.
I think it would impact this election personally, just because of COVID and coming out of COVID and looking at people's recovery plans. I think is important to see what they plan for the economy. But I think it's important to consider all the different platforms as well, and everyone has different values. So kind of basing it off of that.
It's a tricky question because you got COVID factor in there, and it spiraled out of control, like we all know, to the point where your grandchildren won't even be able to pay for it. But how much was necessary and how much wasn't, that's the real question.
COVID is like half on my mind, and the economy is the other half. And I think either way, whoever runs the country, the economy is not going to change.
For me, the economy, I do definitely feel like inflation with groceries and everything has definitely increased over the last pandemic, like year and a half. But at the same time, I understand that there needs to be supports for people who aren't working right now. So for me, I feel like there has to be a good balance between public spending and as well as giving people, a safety net during such a hard time.
I don't really think it is. I think that they're giving away too much CERB. Now it's time they cut the CERB out, give it to the people who really need it, let the kids get back to work. We have friends who own golf courses, they can't get people to work because they're still getting CERB.
I think pretty much a lot because I'm very invested in the economy and I like to look over it. So I think it's very important if their decision is impacting the economy in a positive way.
The debt would be one thing. The deficit, like all these parties want to spend billions of dollars on, I don't know what, I haven't really looked into it, but we're already in debt. Where are we going to get the money to pay for this? They're borrowing money to spend it, and I don't agree with that because I have to watch my money. So why don't they have to watch my money too? Because it's all my money and your money that they're spending or borrowing for. So
I'm actually more interested in how the economy plays a role in creating a just and equitable society for people. And so eliminating poverty and creating a space where we would have basic income would be something that I would think would boost the economy, and that's what I would vote for.
I don't think it will to a great extent. I certainly have some concerns about things like housing and job losses. But I think likely whoever comes into power, hopefully, will have a good platform to address that.
Well, it definitely is going to impact the vote, but I don't think that's the priority at the moment. I will see which candidate will offer the different interest rates for the foreign investors. I think that's going to be interesting to see, and that's definitely going to orient my vote towards the candidate, yeah.
I would say a good amount.
Why?
Well, I'm always concerned about the economy and
for the spending,
taxation,
COVID overspending that our grandchildren are going to have to pay for.
I think so. I think we don't need another shutdown. I think we need to look at a better way to handle the pandemic than just shutting everything down like we have been. Another shutdown would probably be detrimental, I think, because it's really what we've gone through already has already impacted so much. Like even my job, I haven't been working for the last year and a half. I just started working again, and even then they were telling me it was hard for the bosses, the owners of the company. They have a big family and everything, so they had to run the place by themselves just so that they could keep their own family in order. So I think another shutdown's probably the worst thing we can do. So I think trying to find a way to keep everything going just so we could keep the economy going probably be in the best interest.
It's always the most important issue in all elections, and it's going to be the pivotal issue on September 20th.
In what year was the voting age lowered to 18 from 21? 1965, 1970, or 1975?
Not too sure. 75?
I would probably guess the latest one, 75.
1975.
70? 65.
1975.
75. 70. 70.
65.
The kids got it right. You can high-five each other.
She's 18 this year.
Prior to 1970, the voting age in Canada had been 21 since before Confederation. In 1970, a revised Canada Elections Act lowered the voting age and the eligible age of candidacy from 21 to 18 years. The first federal general election at which Canadians aged 18 to 20 could vote was in 1972.
Even though this election campaign may be one of the most important in recent Canadian history, there are many Canadians who aren't paying as much attention this time around as in previous elections. One big reason for this could be the pandemic and everything that goes along with it. Some parts of the country may also be experiencing voter fatigue, with 5 provincial elections already in the books since this pandemic began. So, once again, we took to the streets across the country to find out from Canadians if they're tuned in this time around. Our question:
how engaged have you been during this federal election?
You know what, to be honest, not too much, especially with COVID and everything else going on right now, right? It's been hard to follow, the kids have been home, right? So priority's been with the kids more than the election right now.
I am quite, and actually am going to volunteer with a political party.
Not very engaged. Why? Well, with the pandemic, that's what I've been focusing on. I haven't been focusing on the election as much. My time and attention, still focusing on the pandemic.
I'm very engaged in politics in general, but my mind has been focused on what's been happening here because of the bumpiness of what's happening in the province at the moment. So that's why my attention has not gone to the federal politics yet, though I know I need to hurry up on that.
Well, I follow the debates. I read a lot. I listen. I reflect, trying to choose the best team for the years to come.
I've not been very engaged at all. I tend to wait until the last minute, and then I go on a research rampage, and then I use that info to make my decision. So I like to think that I'm very involved and informed, but not usually till the end, because you can't keep up with it for the whole month leading up to it. It's too much, so.
Not much.
Why?
Not much. I am not for the election. I don't think it should have been called. And so because of that, I'm not totally engaged. And I really think that he's going to end up with another minority government anyways.
Well, I'm not engaged with any of the parties, and I'm reading the papers and looking the news on TV to make up my mind. My mind is not decided yet. I'm not decided yet for who I'm going to vote.
I have not, to be honest with you, because actually I'm a nurse and I've been working a lot, as you know, with the pandemic, so I haven't really been paying attention, to honestly. And I don't know, I need to sit down and listen to all 3 of them and just see, but of course healthcare is going to be a big issue for me, so yeah, so I'll lean towards that.
Definitely been following it, and I look at things like the healthcare, and that's one of the strong points that I see, and we need to improve that all the way across the country.
I'm a little miffed that it was a snap election. I didn't think we needed it, but now that we're into it, I'm getting more interested in it.
I've been trying to get more engaged recently, but I just find that the information on social media and stuff is pretty biased, so it's been hard to really get involved and find places where I know what I'm watching is or hearing about is true.
Not at all. Zero. I just think in this current time, I think from what I remember as well, it was an election that was just kind of decided all of a sudden that was going to happen. That wasn't actually a planned one, which seems a little odd to me to do with everything else that's going on in the country right now. So yeah, it's mostly just kind of a discontent for the government in general that I just, I'm not really that interested in whatever they have to pitch to us.
I've been trying to keep myself pretty educated knowing it's coming up, but I haven't really decided anything.
No? And you?
I've been doing my research on the parties. Neither of us have been able to vote for very long, so it's been a new thing for me.
Not very much. I'm just putting it off until it gets closer, and then I'll kind of do my research then.
Not so much. Just too busy with work to really get into it. I think you're kind of the same. Yeah. But yeah, so I'm aware of everything just through Reddit, just what my friends are talking about, but I haven't really done my deep dive until closer to vote, which is when I usually do it.
I haven't been engaged at all, particularly because it's occurring during the summer. And I think what politicians say, it's a little bit tired. Hey, they really don't answer any real questions or engage in any real policy discussions during the elections.
Okay. Yeah. And what about you,
I echo that really. Yeah, I haven't been really paying much attention, and when they have said stuff, I haven't really believed that they're saying what you want to hear, but I don't believe they're really going to do anything.
On a scale of 1 to 10? Oh, probably a solid 5. Good times. Middle, you know? Not quite super engaged a little bit, you know? 5.
I'm getting more engaged as we go on. I've been reading into platforms and stuff like that just to kind of inform my opinion. But otherwise, I haven't really been engaging beyond just kind of personal stuff.
And I've been engaging a bit more. Like, I'm in the process of moving, so I haven't been able to like fully keep up with things. But I've been paying attention to poll numbers and just like kind of random news stories here and there.
I've been recently just looking at like kind of the candidates. I haven't been super into it in the past, and I've even forgotten to vote one time, if I'm being totally honest. But now I'm trying to be more engaged and actually know who I'm voting for this time, so yeah.
The aim of those opinion polls you may see from time to time is to give voters a prediction on what the outcome of an election campaign may look like. At times, they've been accurate, and at other times, not so much. But do these have any influence on you when you see the polling numbers favoring one party over another? We took this question to Canadians.
Will opinion polls sway your vote?
No, opinion polls won't sway my vote because I'll research and pick the best candidate that I like.
I think it might, because majority just has such a big influence on general opinion. So for me, as an uninformed citizen, I think it will.
Probably not, no. Why? I don't know. I think public opinion can be easily influenced, and I just go with what I believe in more often, what the public believes in.
I think a lot. I haven't been paying much attention, so if I saw one pop up or if I had access to one, I think that would probably sway my vote.
Not that much. I really look at the platform and what they claim, and then I look at their record. So that's basically what I do. But now I'm typically not a swing voter. I'm pretty set on what I think I want to see. So usually I look at the platform.
I like to make my own informed choices. So based off my values, so I would say not too much.
No, because I need to do my own research, and whatever I'm comfortable with, I'll go with that choice. That's pretty much the way I work.
I don't believe they will sway my vote. I think ultimately I try and keep an open book and analyze each party equally, and ultimately it just comes to integrity and transparency from the party.
I'm interested in looking at what the issues really are, and I know public opinion polls actually might scare me a little, so I'd rather do my own research.
Well, I think we've seen in the last few years that there were certain ideas that this party is going to win, and it was another party that won. So I think voters really choose at the last second when they're voting, and they may not say exactly who they vote for 1 month before or something. And a lot of people may be undecided, obviously, too. So not really, no.
No, I think for the most part, it more depends on what I'm feeling and like what's good for me and my future and my family and everything like that, rather than what the majority of people think. Because also, like, social media has such a big pull now too, and we've seen so many people like spread fake news and stuff like that, so you can't always trust what everybody's saying. So I think it's more, you know, how I feel about who I want to vote for and less about the other people.
No, opinion polls are almost never right. If somebody's vote gets swayed by an opinion poll, then they have other problems. I think it comes down to what people expect, and they're going to vote for anybody that gives them the truth and follows through.
Will opinion polls? No, absolutely not.
Why not?
Because it's such a small percentage, maybe 1,000 people, and that can't be representative of the whole country, and I just don't think they're valid.
No, not in this election. No, I think, whatever people, it's such a mix of things that really I'm not going to, I already have my ideas, and I'm not going to let anybody else's, affect what I'm going to do.
Not mine. I know they affect other people, but for me, it's mostly, I've been influenced by friends and family in the past.
mostly because I live under a rock and right now I'm not following any news.
No, I think I choose pretty well without opinion polls, so I think I'll choose what I want.
I would say maybe not, because everyone should be doing their own research, so it's about having an individualized opinion and not, trying not to be swayed so much by other people and thinking for yourself.
They have no influence on me at all, none whatsoever.
Why?
I vote for the person, I vote for the party. I'm a die-hard Liberal, and I'll be voting for Mr. Trudeau.
Okay, sir?
I'm under the same approach as she is. I don't go by opinion polls, and they can be swayed one way or another, and by the numbers in them. So, and I vote by the candidate and the party.
You know, I think they really would, because I'd be monitoring like the other oppositions. So if like CPP or whatever are going to get even 4% over 3%, that may make a riding go Liberal. So that would make me want to try to vote PC instead of anything that I would want to vote, just to make that not happen.
I don't think so, no.
Why?
Because I think it's more important to make the decision for yourself and educate yourself on people's platforms and then vote accordingly and not be influenced by other people, I guess.
No, I've never been swayed by the polls. Yeah. I do my own research and then I come to my own conclusions and then I vote. The polls are interesting to see kind of who's being favored, but it wouldn't influence my vote.
Not really, because in other elections, like in the American election, sometimes you'll see someone riding the whole time and in the end it ends up being the other person winning. So it's more my values versus what other people are, leaning towards.
I don't think so. I think I have my mind pretty much made up. Being a teacher, I'm keeping in touch with what's going on with back to school, things like that. So I think I know where my vote's headed.
Only if I'm really worried that people that I really don't want to win are going to win, and if the second contender was not my first choice, I might consider that. Otherwise, I want to stick to my gut and what I really want to do. But if it's there's a high chance that people that I don't want to win are going to win, I might go for the second closest just to try to edge them up. Yeah.
Thanks for watching this episode of Outburst on CPAC. If you have any comments about this show or any other show, you can find us on social media. You can also find us on our website at www.cpac.ca. I'm Glenn McGuinness, and on behalf of my colleagues at the Cable Public Affairs Channel, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.